less throttle, more throttle.
Oh, beautiful. You have the modulator.
Yeah. Welcome to the shop. So today I want to talk about the Flightline Spitfire, 1600 millimeter. Finally pulled the trigger and bought this thing. I've loved Spitfires all my life. I don't know what it is about a Spitfire. I've got books on Spitfire. My wife, every time she finds some book at an antique store about Spitfire, she brings it home. And there's something magical about the Spitfire. If you don't think so, well, you need to read up on it, because then after that, you'll agree with me. Anyway, so finally had an opportunity to just pull the trigger and get one of these. Been to a bunch of swap meets. I get the big Tiger Cat, FMS 1700 millimeter. A lot of videos on that. And the Corsair, the big Corsair. What always eluded me was this guy. Finally just said, the heck with it. I'm just going to buy the thing from Motion RC. Gigantic box shows up and I start that build process. This video is going to be about kind of that whole I'm not going to do a big build video. There's a ton of them out there. But there are some things that I didn't notice or see in those build videos, and so I'm going to highlight some of that stuff of what is specific about my build and the things I saw. The other part I'm going to talk about is my setup before Maiden, and then show the Maiden, some of the things I did. I was having some problems, to be honest. And then the changes, and then second Maiden. So there's some things in the video on how I set up my plane, and then some of the, I don't know, not enhancements, but just things I did that made it easier to travel with, and so on and so forth. After that, going to go over landings, because for me, landing on asphalt, I find that especially tail dragger warbirds will ground loop a little bit easier on asphalt than they do on grass. So going to kind of go through that, some examples, the good and the bad of those flights. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. If you have a question, leave a comment. If you like and subscribe and all that cool stuff, makes me feel good. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay tuned. Don't know if I love or hate tracking data. It's pretty cool to follow when it comes to your door and open it up, start tearing up, taking out all the parts. I wanted to see how big it was to my Corsair and kind of impressed with the size of the thing. All right, gluing this tail section on. That's really the biggest part. It comes with some glue. I used that glue. I roughed up both edges. I kind of poked at them, make some holes, smeared the glue all over, and then put them together. I also just kind of held it on its nose and pushed down on it just to make sure everything was aligned properly. And it stuck there, a couple minutes, quite a few minutes until I felt a little bit more comfortable with it. Now, one of the things in the instructions, it talks about removing the push rods or then putting them in later, or put them in when you glue. And I decided that I'm just going to slide them back in after the glue is cured and all. What happened though was that when I slid them in, one of them, there's little tubes inside there, push rod tubes that everything goes in. One of them didn't go through the push rod tube. It kind of went on the outside. Looked fine and I actually connected everything to the servos and everything looked fine until I started messing with things and I noticed that we have a problem. So what I'm showing there is just an area to look to make sure they actually the push rods go through the push rod tubes. All right, now basically all the control surfaces on the wings. Got my servo tester, lining everything, zeroing everything or centering everything. But I noticed the flap servos, we have a problem. The servo control horn, they were different on the servos for the flaps, and that was going to cause an issue. So the only way to fix it was, unfortunately, rip it out slightly, unscrew it, put back in, make sure everything was aligned, glue it back in, and then we were all back together. And that was really the only issue. Everything else was pretty good. The little blue box, everything went where it was supposed to, except the wing lights and the strobe light. Here's where they go. Okay, now basically all the control surfaces. Documentation says one thing, RC Group says another. Other people say other things. There's a lot of different ways of setting it up. So here's how I set it up initially, and then I'll talk after the first Maiden, how a little minor change I made. Control surfaces were probably fine. I was flying, both in low rate and in mid rate, never high. The CG was the issue though. Moving it to about 92 was a big plus.
And this is where I'm holding all my stuff that I transport. A lot of good screws instead of those Phillips screws I hate. And my cannons. came with that shelf liner stuff. Go figure. And a decent battery strap. Here's where I've tried to make my life easier by just marking these three with extensions to my receiver. So when I'm mounting the wing or dismounting it, I'm not plugging in and out of the receiver, which is frankly a little fiddly for me. So instead, I just have these set up and plug them in. It's easy. Along with the strobe that made another extension that goes to the blue box. It was pretty simple. Anyway, that's how I have my interior set up. I do want to show kind of the process of assembling. Obviously, previously you saw that I had all these pieces inside here. I used M4 screws instead of those Phillips screws because I plan on having this plane a long time and taking it on and off with those Phillips heads. I just hate Phillips heads. I don't have the perfect screwdriver setting for it, or that fits perfect. So this always fits perfect, and I'm not going to round them over very easily. So take all that out. Here is, like you saw before, these little guys, as well as this guy is for the strobe. Now, next thing we're going to do is grab our wing. I'm going to flip this guy over and be careful of the antenna, or you can take that out, take that off, and just keep it in the canopy as well, or in that cavity. Now, these guys are also labeled similar. So I'm going to shove all that in, close her up, and just for video purpose, I'm just going to put 2 screws in so I can flip it back over and you can see how I connect everything. Hopefully you'll be able to see. And this big thing takes some moving around. Ripped off the antenna. All right. So, got a whole bunch of cables here. And pretty simple. 3 dots goes to 3 dots. 1 dot goes to 1 dot. And the dots are basically on the same, they're facing each other, looking at each other. So I'm not going to reverse polarity or screw anything up. Not polarity, but mess that up. And then here is my strobe and my plug for that. That's it. Now we're all plugged in. I can tidy that up, push that back a little bit, battery in, and we're good to go. So pretty simple process.
Okay, maiden flight. Here we go, Dad. I'm up.
Right, I'm going to land and get out of your way here.
Appreciate it. Heart's beating quite a bit. Clearly a little nervous, as all maidens, with the expensive plane. Trimming her out, didn't need a lot. Little up elevator and a little aileron. That was pretty much it. Pretty nervous, didn't get all the details like I would have maybe liked to have in this, but oh well. Okay. All right. Flying about half throttle here. Now coming up, I'm going to do a CG test, and I really should have done it a couple times. I did a quick flip over on a 45 up, and I probably should have focused on it a little bit more because she was definitely nose heavy. That's not bad. CG's pretty good enough right now. And do stall test. see. Stall test clean. Okay. Do it again. Kind of a funny thing, after looking at my dad's drone video footage, this picture popped up as I nearly clobbered his drone. It was kind of funny how close I came to his quad. Now I'm doing some stall tests with flaps down and gear down, just to see what that looks like. Actually, not too bad. Same thing, she dropped the left wing. All right, gonna make a couple approaches. Nice and slow. That was a big problem I was having, is slowing her down. I'm given a fair amount of elevator to try to reduce some speed, and she wasn't doing what I was hoping. And this went on for quite a few approaches and then some landings. Making a turn base to final, just gonna do another approach, Dad. Backing off on throttle, about 30% throttle. Gonna do that again. Oh! No, that's okay. Gonna have to slow her down a little bit more.
Yeah, you're going way too fast for me to follow.
Yeah. Got a little wind coming in from the west. Not much, but little. I think I'm okay still, but I'm gonna take off again, Dad. Same direction. Okay. All right, you got me? Well, I will need to work on my landings. There's more. All right. I'm going to do mid rates on this one, so I have a little bit more elevator. Okay. Up.
That climb out though is like the real thing. That climbing turn looks like something out of a Battle of Britain.
Totally.
How much throttle is that?
Half throttle.
My guess is you were going about 45. Can you do a full throttle pass and comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think so. That was full throttle.
Even nose heavy, she was flying pretty good. Just having some issues on those landings. Just couldn't get that nose to come up to slow her down. So we're going to do a couple more landings here, and this is where we have a problem.
Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah. Got to work on slowing her down. I'm gonna That's not what I wanted.
No, but the approach was right.
Yeah.
It wasn't the approach.
Ruined my prop, which it's getting a little scraped up.
Are those individual blades?
And that landing gear just came right out.
That's actually probably the best answer, though, isn't it?
That's concerning. It's not even glued in. And I checked them, I pulled on it.
What makes you think you see no glue on it?
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of glue, but not a terrible amount. I mean, it just pulled right out. It didn't break the foam or anything. You know what I mean?
All right, headed home, tail between my legs. Used some a generous amount of E6000 glue, got her back together, waited 48 hours, and headed back to the field for some more flying. Okay, big difference, move the battery back. CG now is at right around a little over 90. Before it was quite a bit further forward, so screwed up there. Anyway, on this I do a couple quick tests, have some fun with it, and then get into some better touch and goes and landings.
Making my approach. Third throttle. A little bit more throttle.
Holy cow, does moving the CG change everything? This thing will come in so slow and so predictable now. It's amazing.
Down. Half throttle. Backing off throttle just a little bit. Making my approach. Third throttle. Coming in. Back off throttle a little bit. Starting to flare. And that's perfect. And the crowd goes wild.
I gotta be honest, it was such a sigh of relief that I finally got her in without scraping up a tip and just coming in like I can land all my other warbirds. So it's kind of a cool thing. So I'm gonna go up and do a couple more. They're not as perfect, but things are a lot more controlled.
So right now, half throttle, coming in, get my approach. Yeah, got about a third throttle, quarter throttle. I'm flattening her off, trying to. A lot of elevator right there. Keep that nose down so she don't flip on me.
less throttle, more throttle.
Oh, beautiful. You have to modulate it though.
Yeah. A little bit more, a little less, a lot more. Oh, too slow. Always good to end the day on a high note. So had a great time, got her tuned up, got a lot more playing to do with her to figure her out so I can be a little bit more consistent. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.